welcome back to Thoughtful Thursday, episode 18. And again, we're wearing the same clothes as the last episode because we recorded them at the same time. Last episode we used back to back, not at the same time. That'd be cool.
That'd be wild.
That'd be wild.
Clones.
Multiverse situation here.
Hey.
So last one we used the magic 8-ball to determine which ones we were going to do and not do. We have 3 left, so we can just not use that anymore.
Your kids are never going to be able to play with that again.
Yeah, they will. It's from Arby's. It's indestructible.
It could have helped determine the order.
It could have. But it's good. It's good.
It's gone now.
We're just going to go reverse this time. Like we started here, went this way, we'll go this way. So we'll let Cammie choose first.
Wow, so, back to back. Just
to give a 10,000-foot overview, we've been doing a 3-part series on what we call our staff DNA. We didn't do this last episode. Our staff DNA, which is essentially the values in which our staff operates. So we have our mission, our vision, the things we're trying to work towards. The values, the DNA is how it feels while we do that, how we behave while we do that. And just to clarify, this is not a public... Like, these are not the values that we've set for the church.
Correct.
Rather, this is our internal organizational staff culture. Yeah. But a lot of it does leak out into our ministry teams and that kind of thing.
Mike, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
I would love
you already
to ask.
did. Yeah, you already did.
Just do it.
You interrupted by asking if you could interrupt.
Okay. Well, it was a polite interrupt.
Permission granted.
Thank you, sir.
Nick, can I interrupt you real quick?
For those that maybe don't know us,
did you guys know what I did last night?
Yes, I was waiting for it.
What did you do?
Well, interestingly enough, I actually went to listen to a Jewish rabbi that's here visiting.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that?
I wish I would have invited you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Because you're going there next year. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Wow. And I'm a little just disappointed that
I would invite you.
Didn't listen to the Spirit's leading on that and just like, you should invite Mike. Nah.
You know what it is? We never ask her what her plans are. So she didn't think of us. But Mike, hey girl, what you doing later?
What are you doing today? I don't know.
So just to give a little bit of the backstory here, I was requesting Cammie's attendance at a lunch meeting, but the way I asked it was like, what are you doing today? Meaning, like, are you free today? She was like, well, this evening. I was like, whoa. I don't care what you're doing this evening. What are you doing today at work? Oh, okay.
The way you asked it, though, you were like, what are your plans?
What are your plans today?
It's because it was Tuesday, and you have the same plans I do. We have staff meeting and then sermon prep.
It's like Pinky and the Brain, that old cartoon on Cartoon.
So
we do
then
brain. What are we going to do?
Like
the same thing.
1,000 thoughts were going through my head in a space of 5 seconds. I'm like, he
really?
knows what
1,000 thoughts?
Yes, literally. I was like, he knows what my plans are. So now, what is he asking me to do? And I don't want to do it.
I sat and watched the whole thing, and it was so awkward and so awesome.
She mumbled through the next 30 seconds. Well,
at 4:30,
this evening.
It's an appointment at 4:30. I said.
I'm like, cool. Like lunch. What are you doing at lunch?
When this whole thing could have started with, hey, I'd like to invite you to lunch today for this meeting. Are you available?
Yeah, I definitely could have asked the question a lot better. Hindsight, I did not. I apologize. I put you in that weird position to be a weirdo.
And you don't need
it's my fault. You're a weirdo. Yeah, my fault. You're a weirdo. All right.
She's like, my thought that started 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Now I'm not inviting you to the Jewish rabbi.
Yeah. By the way. Yeah. Just invite him. Don't worry about it.
Well, no, she didn't even do that. So
because I didn't. Maybe I should have said that you were doing that next year, but I knew
that's okay.
Yeah.
I am going to Israel in
January. So that's why it was on my mind. Oh, I thought it was July.
No.
January. Yeah.
I'm going there in 6 months.
Nice.
A little over 6 months.
Anyway.
I'm pretty excited.
What are you doing?
I
have
a place for you to go to.
Okay.
Cammie.
2, actually.
What are you doing in January? Like in about 6 months.
I hope I'm in Uganda.
We'll be in very different places.
So,
all right,
go ahead.
Mike's off the table. Who else could you invite?
To anything you're doing ever. Go ahead.
Seems like there's 2 eligible people here that you could invite to do things.
It's the thought that counts. I had the thought.
I am honored that you thought that.
I'm dishonored that you didn't think about Daniel or I.
You're not going to Israel.
I get it. It makes sense. Checks out.
I don't know.
Go ahead. What were you going to say? I like how we jokingly interrupted Nick and it turned into a real interruption.
You guys are monsters. And this would probably be more helpful if we did it in the last 2 episodes, but for people that may be listening or watching that have no idea who we are, the context of what we do in our roles.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too, because hers changed.
Yes. And, I just think it would be good for people to know as we talk through these values, who we are on the team and maybe how.
Yeah. No, that's very valid. Cammie? What is so difficult about this? 4:30, I have an appointment.
I have to leave at 11:30 to take the dog to the groomer.
Well, if you just answer the question, we can move on.
We're a weirdo.
I don't know. I am super excited.
I don't know what I am or do. Good Lord. Would you like me to introduce you?
No, okay. I am the discipleship pastor here at New Hope, and I have been doing that for a whole month.
Yep, a whole month.
And crushing it.
And for a lot of months before that, she was our elementary director.
Yep, no. So I really am excited.
Daniel?
Yeah, I'm executive pastor here at New Hope.
Daniel Fernihough. If you don't know. If they don't know, they might not
My last name's Fernihough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nik Walborn, I am the family pastor.
Yep. I am Mike or Michael Elkins, whichever you prefer, and I'm lead pastor at New Hope Community Church. Cammie's last name is Short, by the way. We did not clarify that. So, yeah, those are the different roles that we play.
So welcome to part 3.
So welcome to part 3 of 3.
The 18th episode. Andy knows us.
Yeah, Andy knows us all. Andy, we still love you. We have to work Andy in every episode, I feel like, at this point.
Did you
guys,
guys
did text me after you listened to that?
Yeah, did you guys watch it at all?
No, I have not watched one of these.
I did this morning because I needed to refresh myself.
I do need to watch it so I can see his face.
Let me tell you this. Number one, if you want to learn a lot about yourself and how you communicate on a podcast, you should watch.
I know it's terrifying.
But I added a bunch of fun Andy things.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I'll have to watch
Check it out.
I'll at least fast forward to that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not watched or listened to one of these. My philosophy is I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't.
In my head, I'm exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I watch a podcast, I'm like,
we are dynamic.
Shut up. Just stop. You're so boring.
We are dynamic. And I'm going to leave it at that.
If you want to,
Go ahead. No, you get to pick the first one. Let's jump into it. You were going to pick one.
I was going to talk about one that I don't want to pick, so I'm going to choose.
Still that word, isn't it? Don't want to say that word?
Laugh loud, laugh often.
Laugh loud, laugh often. Yeah, so this isn't in the Bible.
I don't know.
Jesus didn't say, like, thou shalt laugheth loud and laugheth often. That's the King James Jesus.
But it's all about joy.
It is. It is. So it says, the way we have it defined, when we stop having fun, we start to lose unity as a team. What we do can be tough at times, so we always look for ways to laugh. It's a real simple one, but I think it definitely has become one of our favorites, and I think it's definitely an identifiable thing for our team.
Listen, I think the truth is we came up with this whole harebrained idea of a staff DNA so that we could put in writing that this is one of our values.
I do think it was maybe our first one that everyone was solidified.
We just wanted an excuse.
Yeah. We don't have to try too hard for this one.
Nick, you mentioned, I think, the last episode, the way we
communicate,
talk to each other, stuff like that. That'll make sense next episode. So go ahead and pontificate on that.
I'm not sure I have a ton to say.
Can you say that word, Cammie? Pontificate? Could you spell it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I could spell it. I just can't.
Mediocrity.
I love this value. I love it because there are values within here that are things we're striving to be and struggle maybe at times with, but there are also values that I think are very like it's just who we are, and yet I think that this value is who we are. Mm-hmm. Like we laugh a lot, we poke fun at each other, we experience really difficult things together as a team, and we're able to pray about it, talk it out, but also laugh about it. And I think for me, even as I look at this value, I think like do we really need this value? Because it feels like it's something that comes so naturally to our team. And yet, as I have been thinking about all these values, I've been kind of reflecting on maybe some of the challenging points in my life, where I didn't want to laugh, or I didn't feel like I could. And I think that we live this out as a staff well, so that even in some of the hard times of each of our individual lives, or maybe a season of ministry that's difficult, we can point to this and say, like, yeah, this is a part of who we are. And laughter changes a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't think maybe we appreciate how much laughter can bring joy and change. And God can really use that to change what's going on in our minds or even our hearts. So,
yeah. So 2 things with this one specifically. One, like if you were to come to our staff meetings, you may think they're wasting time. Like there's, and maybe we flirt with that line. And even, no, I'm not going to go there, but like the first 30 minutes of our staff meeting might actually be us just making fun of each other. Like legitimately, and we're all laughing and having fun. I don't see that as wasted time.
While Dave patiently waits.
While Dave sits there. Can we start?
He gets in on it pretty good.
Mm-hmm. He does.
Bingo.
But I just don't see it as wasted time for us. Sarcasm is definitely our laugh language. There are people who may see us hanging out together and be like, do they actually like each other? Because they are
I've been asked that question.
So brutal to each other.
I think that is a really great, I don't know who just said it, dingo, but in one of our staff meetings, Dave was trying to say bingo, like got it, but he said dingo. And then all of us just
will not leave him alone about it.
Shouting dingo
for 2 months. That's all we've talked about.
And then he shows up to one of the staff meetings with a custom shirt that says dingo across it. And it's just like, it's those, like he was excited to come in.
Yeah, he was as if he had to point it out.
I think this is really important to mention, because you said like sarcasm is our laugh language, and some people, if they're not accustomed to it, they would ask like, do y'all actually like each other? I think there's a couple of really important things here. One, because of our other values, I think we're able to be sarcastic and rib each other, and we do this well. So the idea of honoring each other is still at play.
Yeah,
but we kind of have maybe an unspoken rule where if a joke crosses a line and hits below the belt, like we talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember a couple minutes ago, I said I have a couple things to mention. That was one of them. But continue.
Maybe you should have talked faster. I don't know.
Yeah, I should talk faster. I waited 45 seconds to tell that joke. Go ahead.
That was it. I have nothing else to add.
Yeah, there are times when you could see it in somebody's face, though, where you're like, I hit below the belt.
Yeah.
Like, it went too far. It just went too long. I heaped too much on. I have a problem with this. Like, I'll be honest. Like, if I could be a stand-up comedian, I would be a roaster. Like, that's what I would want. I would be a full-time roaster. I just love to roast people. I remember we had a girl in our student ministry in Florida for 4 years, like, from 9th grade till senior in high school. She was one of our like core students, picked on her all the time. She would laugh. Like her senior year, one day she just broke down crying. I was like, what is happening? She's like, you're so mean to me. And I was like, I thought this was like our thing. So I was like, I'm so sorry. I just can't help myself. And I probably flirt with the line maybe more than anybody.
I feel like you're good at roasting because you're like a young adolescent. in that, there's a comedian that talks about how teenagers, young adolescents can get at the heart of what your insecurity is.
Yeah.
And I think you're really good.
It makes me sound like such a terrible person.
Yeah, you are.
It's so true. You guys would be surprised the things I think and don't say.
Hey, that's
Good job.
That's wisdom. Holding every thought captive.
Yeah.
Some thoughts
honestly, where
captive.
this is probably the biggest struggle is in my marriage. Because like I had about 14 years where I said what came to my mind and I thought it was just killing, right? I'm like, this is hilarious. And it was not hilarious.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
14 years.
It is. And we're 3 years past that point and I still flirt with the line. I'm getting better. But
Yeah.
my anniversary is tomorrow. Well, as when this is being recorded.
I'm going to leave that alone.
No, we could go there. It's fine.
Are you sure you know the
So Mickey posted something. I don't know if you saw. She posted something about 17 years married or whatever. 18 and a half years knowing each other, 17 years married. And I was like, is my anniversary today? I'm like, no, it's not. I know when it is. I'm like, no. She loves the number 5. Maybe we did get married on July 5th. That would make sense. For like a day, I was like, I don't know.
Tell them what you did.
I Google searched my marriage certificate because I was like, I don't have a way of finding this out without outing myself. So I was doing public profile searches and just trying to find when was I married.
You need to put that in.
I
your
was
Google
right, by the
calendar.
way. I was right. No, I don't need to. I was right. She threw me off.
Clearly, you don't.
You will
It's that
forget.
woman you gave me.
So how'd you finally figure it out? Tell the people.
How did I figure it out?
You went to a post from last year on your
Oh, yeah.
anniversary.
On my Instagram account, I went to a July 8th to verify that that was the right date. And in fact, it was the right date. So should have started there instead of doing a public search.
Minda planned our wedding on June 12th so that I would remember her birthday as March 12th because for some reason I always thought it was March 14th.
That surprises me with you, honestly.
I know. I feel like I'm pretty decent at those things. I don't know what the mental block is.
It took Mickey about 10 years to remember the date of my birth. And it was like, I know it's in June. And I was like, yeah, it is.
I know
That's
my anniversary is November 20th. I remember it because I love my wife, and so it's just easy to remember.
I remember too. So yeah, I flirt with this line probably the most. I do have a gift, if you want to call it, for knowing what will hurt you the most, and I will just exploit it and just pour salt in it. I'm really good at that.
So laugh loud.
Laughed off.
I'm laughing a lot. Everyone else is crying, but no. And we have circled back at times and been like, hey, I think I went below the belt on that.
Yeah, and I think I want to clarify because of how horrible of a person you're making yourself sound. You're like the amount of times that I think we've actually had to come back and go, hey, this one was, too far. Like that's very rare.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that ability is there to have a crucial conversation, to be willing to honor each other in that, and to apologize if you did take a joke too far.
Well, this happened a few weeks ago. Maybe we already we rehashed this, but Cammie shared something on.
We definitely
yeah.
rehashed
Yeah, I'm
it.
going to do it again because I know you love to talk about it. But she said she shared something
That wasn't really a joke.
that was serious for her, and we made fun of her, and I felt terrible about it for a day, and so I just apologized. She was like, "You don't need to apologize. I wasn't offended." I was like, "Okay." I just felt like I was offensive.
It's kind of satisfying to know you wrestled with it for a day, and I was
right.
It
is.
That is, and I would totally agree with everything you guys have said. It doesn't happen very often, but I feel like you two in particular, being the leaders of our staff and our church, do a really great job of modeling that. And not just, I remember years ago, I literally could not even remember what you you kind of poked me, and right after the meeting, you like came into my office, we talked, and you're like, I'm sorry, I just don't feel right about that. And then I don't know if it was the next week or whatever, but in front of everyone, you apologize. And that speaks way more than, anything.
I remember the sign of a good roaster is, though, did he roast you in his apology? I would struggle not to do that.
I think you are making yourself to be something that...
No, you're not that good at roasting, Bo.
No, I am. I am. Trust me.
It's all the ones he's holding in time.
I'm not good at a lot of things.
I think of you more as
I have a particular
in
set
Happy
of skills.
Gilmore, the guy that's standing behind Happy going, "You will not make this putt." That's more
of an annoying nag than anything.
I'm like, would you just shut up and go away?
Well, listen, you guys, we had an intentional thing where you all were supposed to roast me. And I'm going to be honest, you guys did a terrible job.
Hey.
Terrible job. I was offended. You had the best attempt.
I was not aware that we were supposed to go
everyone was
Comedy
aware.
Central roast level.
Well, let's not go Comedy Central level.
I
G-rated.
had a very appropriate level good roast.
You walked the line well. You walked the line well. And I understand there were people in the room that might not have known that that's how we are, what we do at this thing.
But some people took it as an opportunity to just honor you and not roast you at all.
Yeah.
Is that what I did? I have no idea what I even said. I really
It was super meaningful and life-giving. I wept over it.
So last thing I want to throw out here, this is a thing, laugh loud, laugh often. Like I have, when we've brought on new members to our team, new staff, this is one of the things that I point to and go, look, this is who we are. This is one we can't help it. We don't have to try. But, if you are a type A personality that is, you're agenda driven, you are trying to nail down every detail, get through the work, get in the meeting, get out, like you're going to be miserable here. Like you probably will not fit well within the team and organization. We'll drive you absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
If you can kind of loosen the reins of that and allow us to take our rabbit trails and have fun.
And maybe gently get us back on track.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Because we do need that.
But it's true. Like you, that's one of the reasons why I love having the staff DNA. And I think I said it in part one with this. This is something that I love being able to share with someone and say, look, if you're coming onto our team, this is what you're walking into. This is our culture.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't fit with you, that's okay. But
You're gonna
ultimately,
struggle here.
you're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
And like if you're listening to this podcast with a notebook out, waiting to jot down, the 3 points of, and then we talk about your cool Jewish rabbi that you,
Didn't
listen
invite
to.
you to.
Right. We're driving you crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, okay, I need to go listen to Craig Rochelle.
Yeah.
Who could blame them?
Who could blame him? Who could blame him?
This podcast is way better.
Only better because
That
Andy is watching.
Laugh loud.
We have Andy,
Yeah.
not the Stanley variety.
Oh, yeah. I was like, Stanley?
Scott.
The Skiles variety. It's like the knockoff Andy Stanley. It's Andy Skiles.
Three.
Andy, sarcasm is our love language. We love you.
There are some things that Andy Stanley has said that I'm like, I could hear Andy Skiles saying that.
Yeah, probably.
for sure.
Yeah. Daniel, you're next. We have two left to choose from.
What do we have? Battle mediocrity.
Battle mediocrity and attractive spirituality.
Let's go with battle mediocrity.
Okay.
All right.
We never want to be guilty of just...
So you're going to read my...
Well, I read hers, so I just thought I'd keep the same theme.
Did you?
Yeah, but if you'd like to, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. We never want to be guilty of just settling for okay. We are always asking the question, how can we make it better, whether it's something church-wide in our specific ministry or in our own lives as leaders. So, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. We don't want just middle of the road. It's like, how can we offer our best? How can we do our best?
So there's something specific to this. that I feel like is really important. I have heard, and I may offend some people, and I apologize if I do.
No, you would never do that.
You're right. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I apologized.
Yeah.
I have heard a lot, specifically in church culture, this idea of strive for excellence. And we talked about, I think it even was on the board of strive for excellence when we were talking through our staff DNA. And words matter. Words create worlds, as I've always said. So we wanted to be very intentional about our words. The idea, especially in a church, of striving for excellence, being excellent at something is obviously a worthy endeavor. However, when you make that the thing, then that becomes the ultimate goal and the means to an end. The ends justify the means, right? Yeah. And so you can get to a place really quickly if excellence is the end goal, where you can trample over people, you can walk on people, you can dishonor people, because you are so focused on the end product.
Yeah.
Thinking about the production value, or the technical things that are happening, the vocals in a song. You can be so
perfectionistic.
Yeah, that you lose sight of what we're here for. Now, and maybe that's not true across all organizations. I don't know. I'd have to think through that. But for a church, what we don't want to do is we don't want to settle. We don't want to just coast along. Mm-hmm. We want to battle the idea of comfort. We don't want to be mediocre. We want to push, but that end product is not the main thing. Mm-hmm. And so we were very specific on the language of battle mediocrity rather than strive for excellence.
Yeah, and the value of wow, not how really helps with that, to think outside the box, mm-hmm. to give permission to think of new, maybe fresh ways of doing things in order to battle that.
Also, my stomach growled really loud while I was talking.
I want to say, and I could totally be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it was one of our values prior to us, like our church values prior to us changing them.
Okay.
And yeah, I specifically remember us having this conversation about excellence versus this battling mediocrity. And I think you're right on that point, Mike, of wow, not how. I think excellence can at times tunnel vision you into, we're just going to improve the thing, and the thing becomes this sacred cow of, mm-hmm. it's just got to be better and better and better, instead of, you know what, maybe this thing needs to be put to death, or the pause button needs to be hit and something else needs to be brought in, because this isn't accomplishing or doing what we want it to, or it's distracting us from maybe where the Spirit's leading us, and we're so focused on making it this perfect thing. So I love battle mediocrity, and I think it's another thing is asking, and it's not in here, but I think it's pretty directly connected to it, is always asking the question, why are we doing this? If the answer is because we've always done it, it's a bad answer.
Yeah.
So anyways, those are, I think, my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I probably struggle with this one because I can be a perfectionist, and so I am always immediately when something's over, I'm like, how could that have been better? What could we do different? What could I do different? Because that's just my nature. So I do ask the question a lot, how can we make this better? And so with this, I also have to have the phrase GETMO, which we learned on whatever. GLS something, which is, what is it? Good enough to get, good enough to move on. I'm so used to saying GETMO. I'm like, oh wait, what does that stand for?
GETMO.
Get enough good stuff in your life to make it okay.
That's a Craig Rochelle thing, by the way.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, is it? I couldn't remember if it was him or Andy Stanley. But anyway, Yeah, because I can spend obscene amounts of time on one particular thing because I want it to be the best. Yeah. So that's really a problem for me.
And I think there's this obvious tension of like, Jesus deserves our best, right? We want to give the best that we can. But this idea, and I don't remember what book we read this in, but if it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. Because if the only way we can do something is to do it perfectly, there's a whole lot of things we're never going to do. Yeah. And some of those things we just need to, we need to try. We need to try and fail. We need to try and do it poorly, and we can get better at it.
And I don't think you asking those questions goes against this value in any way, shape, or form, Cammie.
No, I don't either. And then you read even in Scripture, like even the most righteous things you do are like filthy rags. I mean, so it feels like this conflicting.
Thanks for bringing that in.
Well, and you and I are wired, and you too.
Oh, you actually included me for once.
I know how much it's hurt your feelings the last month, so
You're not a 3, sorry.
Yeah,
3 thing.
You have your own thing you're great at. It's just not ours. We're better at it.
Loser. Now that I'm included, I can
I can jump on you and tear you down. We're naturally wired this way to like always want more, always want to be the best, always want to be striving for something. Once we accomplish this thing, it's just like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And that does naturally battle mediocrity, but there is that, again, the underbelly, if you will, of this one is never just resting in the presence of God, never being content. My wife has even called me out. She's like, can you not just celebrate the things that have happened before you move on to the next thing? And it's like, no, I can't do that. I struggle to do that. So there's definitely, I understand the dark side of it you're talking about.
What I need to battle is I have to ask myself, am I asking how can we make it better out of pride? Or for, the good.
Who's it for?
Yes, that's
and am
really,
I looking
if you want to get to the heart of it.
Am I looking for perfection or for battling mediocrity?
Yeah.
Which is what you were saying. We moved away from that language.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's huge, Cam, because there's a huge difference of how do we make it better so that someone who sees the thing I've done or produced or helped create goes, wow, hand on the shoulder, great job. Versus, how do we make it better to reach kids for the gospel or, to honor God in this or, to set people up for success. So I understand that the motivations behind those questions are maybe more important than the question itself.
Yeah, and I think, you think about a Sunday morning service, because a lot of times whenever you're talking about church, that's where you go to. That's where a lot of stuff happens. But thinking about like, from a production standpoint of a Sunday morning service, what we're trying to do is create an environment for you to encounter God and for the Holy Spirit to move, right? And if we hit the switcher to a camera while that camera is in the middle of panning real quick, it is distracting, right? And so obviously, like, hey, we want to do well and we want to produce something excellent because we want to remove some of those distractions and create an environment where God can move. What we can't forget, though, is like the Holy Spirit doesn't need any of that to move, right? I mean, he could do whatever he wants to do. So we don't want to put that above the goal of, hey, we want people who are, whether you're in the room or watching online, we want people encountering God. That is the absolute most important thing. So if there are ways that we can eliminate distractions that allow that to happen better, we're going to do those. But those distractions, the production part of it is not the main thing.
It's always funny because it seems to happen every time. Like you preach a message that you thought like, it just wasn't my best.
Yeah.
Or you have a Sunday where production wise, it's like everything was terrible.
Just a train
the
wreck,
wheels came off, musically we didn't do anything right. The cues were the whole thing. It seems like God has a way of going like, yeah, I don't need you
for any of this. Yeah.
Because inevitably someone will come up and be like, man, you don't know how much any of that means. I'm like, really? You got anything out of that? Which is always just really cool and reassuring too. That like we are trying to do our best, and I know God can still work even when our best is filthy rags.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, last one. Nick, you want to pick out of this last one which one you want to do?
Sure.
All right.
Attractive spirituality.
Good choice.
Attractive spirituality. Did we save the best for last? I don't know. Maybe not. I'm honestly surprised one of you didn't pick Laugh Loud, Laugh Often in the last episode. I was kind of disappointed.
I was trying to save it.
Attractive spirituality. Live out our walk with Jesus in a way that draws people in, not pushes them away. People should desire the journey we are on. A lot of thoughts on this one, but I'll let y'all jump into that first before I just steal all the thoughts that we all probably have.
I feel like it's the one I have the least thoughts on.
So I'm like, I'm good. You have a lot of thoughts. Or, I'm good. I'm glad. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I'm good, glad, good, great. First off, I think this is...
I didn't say I don't have any
I'm
thoughts.
sorry, go ahead.
They said they don't have
I
any
know
thoughts.
you have thoughts.
No, you can go ahead.
Sorry, was that your foot? Thought it was a
You're
cord.
good. I'll just tuck my foot
In
away.
a word, this is discipleship.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring people in the journey we are on. I thought our discipleship pastor might have mentioned that, but whatever.
She's a month in. Give her some slack.
She's a month in. That's what it is. You know, it's just like welcoming people in on your journey and leading them along. Living out a spirituality that's not, well, I think I could be wrong, but part of the conversation when we talked about this was you have people who are critical of an attractional model of church. You know, like we want to be seeker sensitive, or there's an attractional model, which I understand those can be taken to bad places, and I can understand the criticism in that. But what's the antithesis?
Unattractive.
Insensitive and unattractive. Like maybe language just needs to change, but I think we intentionally use this word as a way to go like, no, live your life in a way where people go, I want what she has. I want what he has.
Yeah.
Because it's attractive. That's how the church grew. It was an attractive thing to people, even though the content of it was actually pretty unattractive.
Yeah.
Like a sacrificial way of living, dying to yourself. It cost Jesus his life. There's nothing about that that's attractive, but yet something in the way the churches expresses that, it actually is an attractive way of living.
Yeah.
I think that we've all known, maybe been, that grumpy, angry Christian.
I've
or
been
experienced
there before,
that
for
and
sure.
Just gone, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I just when I think of attractive spirituality, I actually think of three people. I think of Blaine Nichols. I think of Marvin Betty Blanchard.
Yeah.
They're three believers that are kind, loving, generous, encouraging. Even, when I started at New Hope and was a hot mess express and had no idea what I was doing, as a brand new pastor, they were there on the sidelines, like cheering for me. And they are the people that I look at and go, I would like my life and my faith to look how theirs does.
At 90 years old.
At 90 years old.
Yeah.
Well, you said there are three people. I'm like, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, he's about to do something sweet here.
Sweet.
Not.
No, there. You said sometimes you know people and sometimes you are the people, and I've definitely caught myself being that, like just that grumpy curmudgeon that's, negative about everything. I can tend to internally be a negative person, and you're like, when you say I don't want that, there's times I looked in the mirror and been like, I don't want this. Why am I doing this? Why am I behaving this way?
I think part of the heart for me behind this idea of attractive spirituality, obviously it's not to boast, but the idea of follow me as I follow Christ, right?
It's a light on a hill.
Yeah. And when you talk about you want people to look at your life and be attracted to it, that can go to really unhealthy places
Right.
whenever you make that statement. But think about the idea that, like, okay, we all know in life we're going to suffer. We're going to experience loss. We're going to experience pain. But when you're able to do that with joy, with contentment, with peace, with hope, that speaks something different to a dark, dark world. Mm-hmm. And when someone looks at your life and goes, okay, you went through something tragic or difficult and you experienced real pain and loss in that, but somehow you managed to keep your faith, that you were hopeful in spite of it. In the midst of it, you truly experienced and had peace. Those things, I think, speak volumes and point people to Jesus. And so that's, I think, at the heart of when we talk about attractive spirituality, that's what we're going for. We want people to look at us. And
Nick
go,
mentioned a few people in particular. Does anybody else have any people that they've looked to in their life that you feel like embodies this?
I was just thinking, because of the example you just used, Pat Nichols has just been that person, and I know not just for me. I know there's probably everyone listening. If you know her, you would be like, oh, yes. Like, there's something.
Yeah, you could put her face next to this one.
Yes, and she would be appalled if she heard this, because she really
and she won't, because she's probably serving someone right now.
Right. She just embodies, she's cloaked in humility. Mm-hmm. But specifically when Matt went through his accident and I watched her walk through that process, and just the hope that she continued to have in Jesus and the strength that she got from him. And then, you know, it wasn't much later that my husband went through a really bad accident, and it was a year process of, you know, I would see Pat and Matt at the rehabilitation center, and I'd have, you know, Garrett and Wyatt with me. The twins were even born. Garrett was 5, so Wyatt would have been about 2 or 3. And the encouragement that she gave me as I saw her walking through something super difficult and unimaginable, and just literally gave me strength to continue to, you know, just do what I needed to do. So I don't know, definitely Pat Nichols, and she disciples people, and anytime you talk to her, you're hearing the word. So everyone I talk to that talks about Pat, we're all like, yeah, we want to be like Pat someday when we grow up.
You grown. Time to start acting like it. You is grown. Funny story about Dave's accident. I don't know if I've ever told you this. So the first time I met all of you, you remember the awkwardness that evening.
I wasn't there for
that.
that.
Yeah, you weren't there for that, buddy.
The
Sorry.
Christmas.
That's a special moment with us.
Yeah, you wouldn't understand.
It wasn't at the Waffle House. It was at a very nice restaurant.
Yeah. The Waffle House. I would have rather been at the Waffle House. So, yeah, there's a lot of stories that I get made fun of for that evening, and well-deserved. I was, it was a last minute, oh, hey, tomorrow night there's a Christmas party. I know you don't live here yet, and you haven't met any of these people really yet. Do you want to come to our Christmas party? And I was like, yeah, like that sounds great. So we drive down to Fort Wayne from Michigan. We go to the Christmas party. Didn't know what kind of party it was. I brought presents. That I proceeded to have my wife hide in her purse, because I realized this isn't a present kind of party, and they were homemade presents at that.
I'm just imagining your story of Lily going to Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, it wasn't even that good. I just printed some stuff off and stuck it in frames. So they hid well in a purse. And then I proceeded to give those gifts to everybody when I actually got here. It's like, oh, by the way.
No.
It was
like
it
a
was
year later?
years. It was years later.
It was at
like
least
years.
2.
Yes.
No,
It was
because I was here. I was here when you gave.
It was
the-
not your first year.
So I didn't have one for you. Well, no. I
got Mitchell's.
You got Mitchell's.
I think it literally had Mitchell's name on it.
It was the thought behind it. You know, I was really trying to
It's
like.
the heart. It's the heart.
Dude, I did not know what I was doing at 32 years old. Like,
Oh, you were just a baby.
I was like a 32-year-old showing up to this
We
staff
hired you?
that you're leading. And you're like, well, I should get them gifts that are really like
Inspirational. They were so bad.
I'm like crying thinking about how terrible it
Only thing
is.
better is if you would have given them out, and we would have had to been like,
Oh, geez. I'm glad I had the wisdom to just be like, hide these. This is a bad idea. Abort. So the first thing I remember about you specifically is explaining Dave's accident to me and him being pushed down a hill in a wheelchair. And I just imagine Dave with his like legs out in front of him, just flying down a hill in a wheelchair. Every time I see him, I imagine him. "Ah!"
No, he did that to himself.
Okay, well, okay. He probably had a different version.
Yeah.
No,
Cammie pushed
he
me.
always would lift his legs to go down the wheelchair ramp at home.
Because he's a fun individual.
Yes.
that
Well,
likes a
one
good
morning
time.
he hit a stone at the bottom, which made him launch out of the wheelchair. And
So that's how I still see Dave to this day.
Yeah. And I went out there because I had to help him up because he couldn't get up. I mean, all
looked
his
like
limbs
that
were broken.
moose.
Did you
All
say
his
very
limbs were broken.
sympathy-filled statements?
All his limbs were broken.
Or were you like, you dumb idiot?
I was horrified.
I hope you re-broke them all.
As I'm helping him up, I realize he's covered in sidewalk chalk. So that I'm making sure none of
so
the neighbors
good.
are watching. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so good. So this was my
What
introduction
does
to
this
Cammie. Is
have
her
to do with
making,
attractive spirituality?
it's just, she
Come on,
mentioned.
let's live loud.
Yeah,
Or live loud.
live loud, go out hard and fast, baby. Woo!
That's because one of
Dave was living loud.
Fast and loud, baby.
Fast and loud, baby.
one of the videos we play in the warehouse is called Live Loud. That's
You
what
don't
it
have
is.
to explain yourself. We're gonna make fun of you anyways. No, she mentioned Dave's accident, so I just went there. I'm like, my first encounter with Cammie is her making fun of her husband for falling out of a wheelchair with all of his limbs broken.
I think it's only because Mickey shared a story of leaving you in the hospital.
Yep, she did.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
She
yeah.
left me in
So
the
I
hospital.
felt the freedom to share.
You're like,
that-
oh, she's terrible too. Let me share how I'm terrible.
that sometimes our husbands just need tough sympathy.
cannot fathom leaving someone you care about alone in the hospital.
Yeah, I can't either. Still can't fathom it. I still make fun of her for it. I'm like, you're just gonna leave me?
Kind of
here?
makes me upset that we share Enneagram numbers.
Yeah, well, that's a very seven thing
Makes
to
me
do.
think of the Seinfeld
Oh, I have.
episode.
I have. There's another party I need to be at.
No.
This party sucks.
Sevens are great
Get yourself home, loser.
at caring for people.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So
Yeah, attractive spirituality. Any other thoughts on that?
I absolutely think so. I'm willing to die on this hill. Healthy sevens.
Yeah. I think Jesus models attractive spirituality, or else people wouldn't have followed him. Like,
You know who I think is really good at this?
oh, that's what we were doing.
kids.
Oh,
Oh,
100%. Yeah.
Like, I'm just thinking of, there's a couple of specific ones that every Sunday morning, they are so stinking excited to be at
Yeah.
church, and they're hugging you, and they're
Dancing around
Yeah.
and yelling. and
That's why
screaming.
Jesus says that.
Yeah.
faith like a child.
That's what we were doing. Do you have somebody in particular?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought went to Miss Pat and Dave. Like,
Yeah.
They're the greats, the
Right.
goats.
The OGs. For me, is a guy named Tom. I know I've talked about Tom preaching before, or I know
Not a girl named Tom.
not a girl named Tom. A middle-aged man named Tom. He was a youth group leader, like a life group leader. And honestly, if you met him, you'd be like, I don't understand how you think his spirituality is attractive, because he had a very colorful vocabulary. He smoked a lot of cigarettes and had me, as a kid in his life group, had me hand roll his cigarettes for him
oh my gosh.
at his auto body shop,
amazing.
at his mechanic shop. He owned a mechanic shop. So he's a mechanic, just always greasy shirt, black jeans, black t-shirt every day of his life. I'm not sure they were different ones either. But me and my dad were friends with him, and definitely learned, obviously I'm not condoning just do what you want, man. But there were some things that were very attractive about him. I knew his faith was real, and I knew there was a tension for him of, this is my old self, this is my new self. I'm not hiding from this tension. I'm going to talk about this tension. He was very transparent and authentic, and that was something I had never seen before in the church, really. Everything that was modeled for me, and not necessarily in my home, but just in the church, was keep all your baggage hidden. Don't let anybody see that and pretend to be something that you might not be. He did not do that. He did not pretend anything. Even, I've shared the story with you guys. Even on his deathbed in the hospital, he was himself to a fault. And it was always really attractive to me. So, which is a reassuring thing that you don't have to be perfect to be attractive.
You just be real.
You can be real, be honest. You know, a big part of it is admitting your faults, acknowledging your faults, being willing to apologize. Those are attractive things in faith. So,
and I think it's important for us and for anybody that's listening, like when you ask the question of like who in your life lives this out really well, like this is the legacy that a Blaine, a Dave, a Pat are leaving behind. People are watching. And when you live this out, people notice. And what an incredible legacy to leave. And I mean, obviously my heart's desire is for my kids and someday, you know, grandkids or whatever, and people who I've discipled, like I want them to look and go, wow, you know, I feel like Daniel was super authentic in his faith and made me want more of Jesus, right?
and we talked about this isn't about pretending to be something or like a look at me mentality, because even going back to Tom, there were things he could have done that would have been, look at me, look at what I'm doing, that I didn't know until he was gone. But yet I knew there was something there. Like he was doing things in secret for me that I did not know in the moment, that I didn't know until he died. You know, as we didn't have a lot of money growing up in different seasons, but Tom wanted to make sure I went to every summer camp and every mission trip, and he paid for all of them. I didn't know that until, you know, my dad shared that with me after he had, and he would have been angry at my dad if he had been like, Tom's paying for your camp. It was, I'm giving you the money. I need you to take credit for this, you know? And that was, I didn't know that, but yet it was just, there was something attractive about him.
Yeah.
And those were the things that it was. It wasn't anything he outrightly said to me or didn't say, but it was just who he was.
That's awesome.
He loved you well.
Yeah, he did. He really did. Yeah, he actually went, he was like this tough, gruff guy. We would go on hunting trips, and he would have fit in well with our staff from a sarcasm standpoint, but he would have been more colorful with it. But he actually went with my dad to drop me off at college, and he bawled like a baby.
Aww.
My dad said when they drove off campus.
Oh my goodness.
But it was funny. He was like,
I feel like sometimes going from laugh loud and often transitions into crying.
Yeah, but this
Very
is a
easily.
great picture of how we operate. It
Yeah.
goes from
but he threatened my dad. He's like, I swear to you, if you tell Michael I cried, I will murder you. Like, and he said it with maybe some F-bombs thrown in there. But yeah, that's just, he was an awesome guy. Awesome guy. I miss being able to talk to him. So,
tell me, bro. I'm trying to hold it together.
can we zoom in on the pools under Daniel's eyes?
I got plenty.
But how hopeful is that you can make such a huge difference in one person's life just because you love them, are kind, give them attention. It didn't matter that he was not living a perfect life.
And you just don't know, like, the impact. All those trips, mission trip things, you know, you can't quantify any of that, but would you be sitting here around this table if not for those? Like, who, you don't know.
Yep. And I mean, my youth pastor was awesome. He's a great guy, still serving. He was a missionary in Spain for a while, and now he's back pastoring, and did a lot of the same things and had a similar impact. But there was something unique about Tom because he wasn't paid to do it. And I'm not saying that's why Bill did it, but he wasn't paid to do it. So it meant something different. And he wasn't as polished. Like, and that's why I don't want people to feel like, if I'm going to be attractive spiritually, I have to have everything together. My life looks perfect on the outside. And, you know, because sometimes that can actually be a deterrent because it feels like an unattainable goal to be, you know, perfection. And so I just think it's a really hopeful thing to go like, well, no, a guy like Tom can have that kind of impact, can be that attractive while being what on outward appearance is being unattractive.
Yeah.
And we just had very different world. He was into race cars. He raced cars. I could care less. He owned a mechanic shop. I couldn't tell you how to fix a car, but he'd have me come up to a shop, just talk to him while he did stuff. He would have me bring my car to him, and he wouldn't do it for me. He'd make me do some things, show me how to do some things that he knew. And he would make fun of he's like, your dad's an idiot. He doesn't know how to do this. But he would also go, hey, your dad's right in this. I know you're annoyed with your dad about this, but your dad's actually right in this. But because he was honest all the time, I felt like, I can trust what he's telling me because he's going to tell me the truth. But, yeah.
Well, he sounds awesome.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Wife was awesome. Wife's awesome, too, Margaret.
I wish you were more like that.
Yeah, me too. Wish I would have caught a little bit more.
I don't know. He tells the truth a lot. Sometimes it's not very much fun.
Less truth.
In all honesty, though, I think that's why our pastors, you're all very relatable. Like everyone can relate to you because you're real and authentic. You don't try to put on, the polished suit and tie look. And I'm using that figuratively on Sunday morning to get up and preach. Like who you are on Sunday morning is who they're also going to see on Tuesday night or whatever at Walmart. So
yeah. Well, and at least for me, I feel like a lot of that can be attributed to Tom for sure.
He discipled you. Woohoo.
Yep. Yeah, at his funeral, I didn't get the memo because I was coming from out of state. Nobody told me, but they were all wearing black jeans and black T-shirts.
That's awesome.
I showed up in a freaking suit.
Oh,
and
that's
I was
hilarious.
so mad because I was like singing at his funeral. And I was just so mad. I was like, why would nobody tell me this?
That is a bummer.
Yeah. Because I was like, Tom is so annoyed with me right now.
You have
He's
on
like,
a black shirt
I taught
today.
you better than this.
Yeah. Gosh. Why do you even care what people think, man? So, yeah, that's any other thoughts on attractive spirituality? I just wanted to hear stories because I think a story maybe embodies that more than like here's a list of things that make spirituality attractive because it's not about a list of things. So I just think stories communicate that better. So appreciate you guys sharing those. Anything else on that? All right. Well, hey, these were fun to go through. Good reminders for us, I think, as well, and even just processing out loud the reasoning behind why we wrote some of these. Again, these don't necessarily need to be yours. Yours will be different. You might have some things that you value more than what we even have on this list, or you don't value that are on this list. But if you're leading a team, whether it's in your business or at a church, get buy-in from the people that you're serving with or that you are leading so that they have buy-in into the process. It'll be a more meaningful experience. And if it's with your family, sitting down with your kids, allowing them to be in the driver's seat on some of these things, I think will be really good. And you're like, well, my kid's 6. Like, I don't trust them to give values for our family. I think listening to them and maybe hearing at the heart what they're trying to get at and help them process that. It's just a really fun thing to do, and it's a great way. It's a great way to lead. So, next week we'll be on a different topic or our next episode. So, thank you for allowing us to go through these. We hope they were helpful, and we will see you next time.
Did you forget something?
Oh, unofficial sponsors.
Yeah.
Do you have one or no?
No, I mean, we never talked about it.
I was told I wasn't allowed to give a second one, so
Yeah.
that means somebody else needs to.
So I can wing this.
Okay.
So my girls got back from a road trip with my wife's family. I wasn't able to go, which was a bummer, but it's okay. They, on the way home, went to a Buc-ee's.
Ooh.
Guys ever been to a Buc-ee's?
Yeah.
So it is the gas
like the
station
Sam's Club
trucker
of-
stop to end all gas station trucker stops. So they have food. They have it all.
They have like 1 billion pumps too. Don't they?
Girls.
I love that you listed one thing.
They have gas.
They've got food
And food.
and all the things.
You're really
all
setting
the
them apart
things.
from other gas stations.
So the girls each got some money to spend at Buc-ee's.
That's funny.
Because you can buy so much.
Yeah.
So they each had a
Food,
hat. Is it
gas.
is it an otter that's the like
a
mascot?
beaver,
Beaver.
man. It's
Beaver.
Bucky Beaver.
Bucky Beaver.
I haven't even been there, and
So-
I know.
Weird.
They
Just
have
bombing this.
hats.
Keep going.
They have hats. Cool.
I just hate you.
So does Sunoco.
The things that my daughters came home with was an incredible. Audrey came home with 2 cucumbers, like English cucumbers.
Like real ones.
Now that's funny.
So Minja's telling me that she was like, "Mom, can you please hand me a cucumber?" She's like, "Hun, we don't have cucumbers." And she's like, "No, it's right there," and sticking out of her back. It's like at least 2.5 feet long. 2 of them. She was so excited.
Oh, Audrey. That's such an Audrey thing.
It is.
But yeah, they came back with apparel. They came back with food.
They have like
and-
Bucky onesies there.
Oh yeah,
Like costumes that you can dress up like Bucky.
There's a Bucky's is in a good country song that is on one of my playlists. I think it's from Cadillac 3, but they talk about Bucky's down in Texas.
So I will give a counter to it maybe being the best, because there might be one in Iowa that's better. It's called the I-80 truck stop. It's a
I know that one.
three-story gas station. They have a barber shop. They have rooms you can rent. They have a chapel. They have a dentist there.
Okay. That's incredible.
So basically,
However,
you can get your hair cut, get married, and have your honeymoon.
I want to point out, like, when
And
you
dental work done.
when you talked about Gooders,
Yeah,
we didn't talk about the other sunglass companies that are better.
you could have.
No,
Yeah, you could've.
This is Nick's
Because there are other sunglass companies that probably are
unofficial
better.
sponsor.
It is. You're right. I'm sorry.
You would make a terrible NASCAR driver. Like, I'd like to think my sponsor Coke, but you know what? Pepsi's better.
Have you tried Pepsi? Have you done the blind taste test sounds? See, here's the thing though. About to be
Bucky's is a vibe.
no in any of them. I love all the cool things. I don't want to stay at a gas station
No, you're right on that.
for 2 hours when I'm on a road trip.
You know when that's amazing, and I'm not
when your
When you're
car
coming
breaks down.
when you're coming from Texas.
motorcycle trips.
Oh,
or if you're a truck driver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when
or if your car breaks down.
when you're doing a motorcycle
and
trip,
you need a break.
you like a good hour,
Or if your car
long
breaks down.
or if your car breaks down.
Thank you.
I'm talking. He has a motorcycle now.
Two.
Two.
He's
So,
dual cycling
maybe
over
3.
here.
So who knows?
Why do we not have
You
Big Nick's
you
bike
lost your
emporium?
Big Nick's making for you. Well, one of them I got from my dead father, so it barely counts.
Yeah, good
as,
luck. Good luck
me
making fun of
purchasing
that.
one.
I can do it.
I can do it. Leave Jeff out of this.
I could do it. Give me 5 minutes. I'll think of something.
Also, it wouldn't be Big Nick; it'd be Lil Nick's.
Little Nicky's.
Lil Nicky's.
Little Nicky's Bike Emporium.
Like that.
Lil Nicky's bike and trikes.
No, Bucky's is great. I didn't mean. Sorry, Bucky's, if you're watching. I did not mean to. But if you are going down I-80, stop at the I-80 truck stop.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us for this episode. We cannot wait to see you next time.
Cannot wait to end it. See y'all.